Hello and welcome. I am Ben the Best 5 and I'm coming at you with yet more Kerbal Space Program content. Now in this week's video I figured I might as well feature another real world reusable rocket prototype which is being tested and in development, which is actually India's reusable vehicle. Now I figured that India was in Australia playing some cricket and they won the recent T20 series, so I was like, well, I might as well feature them in a video and their attempts at reusability. So they've actually already launched a prototype version of their reusable rocket, and it was a suborbital version. It was launched on an existing booster, disposable booster. Now they're testing the upper stage. So yeah, we actually have some quite good information to base this video off. Basically, what they're planning on doing is they're kind of going for a shuttle mounted on top of a kind of a Falcon 9 style booster, where the upper stage is actually recoverable and contains wings and can actually land itself once it's gotten to orbit. So that's kind of the gist of their project. Now, I do apologize, I wasn't sure if I should go for a high detailed replica or a low detailed replica, but I ended up deciding to put in some effort and making it kind of reasonable detail, as well as including some things like some flags and whatever, just to make it, not completely low effort, but I didn't want to go all out just in case, since it is only in the prototype stage. If it does end up looking completely different to what I've done here, that would be a bit of a disappointment and a bit annoying. So I decided to go for something that looked generally kind of similar to what the prototype is, but without actually making it directly, because the prototype will probably be a bit different. And yeah, also for this video I decided to do something I've never done before and perform an RTLS, or return to launch site. Yeah, I figured I might, since my booster ended up having a lot more juice, fuel, whatever you want to call it, in it than I would need to make a landing. I figured I might as well use that extra fuel and put to good use and make a return to launch site, which is pretty cool. I've never done a return to launch site, but there's no reason why I really couldn't. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I also kind of overshot a bit, so we end up landing a bit behind the Space Center. And this booster, it's definitely quite interesting due to it, well, difficult to land due to its interesting profile with those bottom fins there. If you're ever making a reusable booster, don't put fins down the bottom. That's a terrible idea. It makes the thing incredibly difficult to fly, and basically the only way that I was able to actually land it was basically by coming in a really weird angle and then performing some flip magic, and basically, yeah, I just kind of did a bit of a some weird, awkward, probably not procedural, and very crashy or crash-like crashy procedure. Anyway, about the landing itself, I have enough fuel here, and it's the kind of levels of fuel that you want to look for if you're doing a landing. And the reason is you kind of want to let your aerodynamic profile, as well as things like the air brakes there, do most of the slowing down for you, simply just because that is a lot more efficient than say using an engine, and it's a lot less weight. The weight that you'd use in the extra weight from the fins and the air brakes, is a lot less than that of the extra fuel required for the landing. So because of that, I tried to use basically as little fuel as possible to make the landing, and I think I got the level I wanted pretty much perfectly accurate for the kind of landing I was doing. Although I did have to make several landing attempts just because it was quite difficult to land. Landing by parachutes is so much easier, and here you'll just see me cutting through after I had to make a quick save. But yeah, this was what I meant by the landing was a bit interesting, because yeah, you end up with some residual sideways velocity, which is not helpful when you're trying to land per se. And yeah, we did a little flip, and there we go, landed. Well, it actually landed, and then it tipped over because I didn't have any landing gear, but that's because I couldn't really see any landing gear on any of the prototypes, so I figured maybe it was meant to land on those fins there, but some of those fins snapped off in the landing. So yeah, after it landed, it toppled over and crashed. So I cut that out because it's not particularly pleasant or interesting to see. But yeah, anyway, here's the shuttle-like object just deploying some little dummy satellites. So basically just designed some little satellites that could fit inside the cargo bays, which can be on a Mark II because that's kind of the size that we're looking at. And now they can go out, deploy their little solar panels and antennas, and go and do some sciencey or communication-y or whatever stuff they're doing. They don't actually have a purpose. They're simply just a dummy payload to show how this rocket would deploy its payloads. Now this is how the upper stage would land and be reusable. So it would kind of, now it's got some wings on it, and the idea is that it would generally land kind of like a shuttle would. However, yes, it's not the most aerodynamic thing in the world, like a shuttle is. Not the most aerodynamic thing in the world. And the aerodynamics of Kerbal Space Program do not like me. Yeah, it actually kind of lands, I don't know, a little bit like Starship and how those prototypes are meant to land, and kind of a mixture between that and the space shuttle. So to land it, I kind of went for a space shuttle re-entry angle where basically to do that you want to point prograde and gently ease up until you're at about a 40-degree angle, 40 degrees, 40 to 50 degrees, but I don't know, it depends on the individual vehicle. You kind of want to basically find the sweet spot where you're able to hit the atmosphere as fast as possible, with as high of an angle of attack as possible to bleed off speed as fast as possible, but you also want to be able to not have so much air resistance against the frame that causes it to flip. And that's basically how you want it to work in a sense. Also, you might have seen me just fiddling with some controls. That was me seeing if I could perhaps flip the controls, because as you can see, to move up and down, I press A and D, and I want to flip that and see if I could perhaps make it so that to land I could press S and W to to change the angle that's coming in at. However, I couldn't do that. That was apparently not possible. Because I didn't have any control surface to switch to, or control point to switch to, which was kind of a shame, but didn't matter too much because we ended up just flipping out anyway. And the lucky thing for me is those engines there, those are the swivels, and I chose those just because they looked like the engines which were on the prototype. So, however, they do have a decent thrust to weight ratio, meaning that I still had enough power and control left over that I could actually use those engines to make a propulsive landing and miraculously land on the landing gear. Again, this mission was filled with lots of landing flips. You know, not the greatest way to land in the world, but hey, if it gets you to your ground with most of the vehicle, the reusable bit anyway, in one piece, then I reckon it's a good landing. Also, the SAS here is causing me to spin. I really wish that it didn't do that. Hey, Kerbal Space Program developers, if you are watching this, can you please stop that from happening? Where it will just randomly cause it to spin like that as a result of the SAS kind of malfunctioning. Cause yeah, that definitely makes it hard. Especially, it makes it hard to regain control of an aircraft you've lost control of, and it also makes it hard to stay in control of an aircraft when it's randomly rolling in the incorrect direction, the direction that makes it roll faster in a sense. Especially when you've selected stability. That definitely does not help if you're trying to use the SAS to become stable, and doing that just results in it becoming less stable. Anyway, the orbiter's about to land. It's very bottom heavy, so it couldn't help but put itself in a position where it was pointing face down, and I did make a couple of attempts just because I wanted to get into a position where it would land on its engines and then fall onto its landing gear just like that. And just like that, we now have a landed reusable shuttlecraft in a sense. So if you enjoyed watching this, or you want to see more content like this, then please subscribe. Please leave a like to show your support for my video. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment if you want to interact with me, because I read all my comments and it's the best way to approach me in this channel. Other than that, thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I hope I'll see you in the next video.